Mm. Oh, what a way to open up this thing. Hi.
Gesundheit.
Welcome. Yeah, welcome to a pre-E3 show from some of the hosts of PNB. I am, of course, one of the hosts, Travis Foster, and I am joined by Mr. Dylan Tierney, who writes at StackUp.org. He
I write at
formerly up.
stackup.org, and I'm currently being pelted by UV rays. So
Um,
somebody keep
and
me out of the sun. Do I look like I get a lot of sun?
well, I mean, I have a great tan that I can.
A lifelong tan, yeah.
And that person that you're hearing is Mr. John McFarland, who is known as Cosmic Bacon Art on Twitter. He is a he did the art for Wailing Heights, a fantastic game on Steam. Go
Aw.
pick it up. But yeah,
I
he's
love your
a
work with Family Guy.
yeah, he's a really good illustrator. Has done some stuff for Giant Bomb.
Oh yeah.
Formerly people used to go to Talk Radar. He was H reader at Talk
Oh, yeah.
Radar and did some great art. And we are very excited and ecstatic to have him on our first live show.
Woo! Happy to be
Uh,
here. Good stuff.
that's no problem. So we are doing, like I said, this is the first ever PNB kind of like we've used the moniker PNB Live, right? So this is the first time we're actually doing a big show, and what a show to start on is E3. It's this thing that happens every year. This is the time where everyone gets to be extremely enthusiastic for things that more than likely won't come to fruition, but it's such a great time. It's a great celebration of the industry, um, and the fact that we will all watch conferences and make snide remarks because it's the
Yeah.
internet and
It's the
have fun.
internet.
Yeah.
Um, Before we go into news and we get everything breakdown, I just want to start. Let's start with John. What are you kind of, looking forward to this E3? You know, before we kind of really get into it and make predictions and all that kind of stuff.
Um, I would say maybe finally an excuse to buy a PS4, to bring in like a more powerful one out. I've had a PC for like the last 5 or 6 years, and I've never, not once have I thought, oh fuck, I need to get a PS4 or I need to get an Xbox One. So I don't know, maybe a more powerful one will help me push me in that direction, but it's it's pretty unlikely. But you never know, it might be enough. And if we get a decent VR, like a little group of VR games that are actually games and not just tech demos, I think that'd be pretty cool. I could see myself blowing like 500, 600 quid on a headset that would make you vomit every 20 minutes. Be pretty good.
But do you think that comes in this E3? And I say that because I the tech is just out there, right? And developers now have finally had it in their hands, but I don't know if we're past that demo phase. And um, when you look at system or you look at innovations that maybe like once you announce that thing, it's like the next or the next couple of years, like when you had the initial PlayStation. There was still a lot of sprite work until someone actually understood how to handle 3D models,
Yeah,
in a space. So
I know.
I'm
I know we're
sorry,
still
go ahead.
probably a while off from having like full amazing VR experiences, but I think if they get knocked on the PlayStation, like if the PlayStation VR catches on, then I think it'll at least happen quicker than if it's just left up to the PC crowd, because console gamers generally tend to, you know, they want everything for their generation, which is about what 3 or 4 years at a time now. So you've got to get stuff out there as quickly as possible, and then you need all that crap at the start to eventually get to the good stuff, and the quicker you get there, the better.
Oh, that's definitely true.
It's hard to say what's really going to sell VR to people, though, because I mean, I look at something like Gran Turismo Sport, and obviously it's still a pretty mainstream franchise, so it has a lot of appeal to people. Maybe that's one of the tentpole things for PSVR. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and again, we're gonna probably get more into it when we talk about the press conferences. But I think having that where the VR for a PS4 is a lot easier to like for Joe Public to kind of latch on because we have a system that we don't need to upgrade. We don't think at least, and now we can with a with a PC you have to upgrade your graphics drivers and you have to make sure you pay it in. So yeah, like you said, it might be 600, 700 dollars, a quid, or depending on your currency, but
I'll
you
try to talk
also
in dollars from now on.
no, I mean, hey, it's not just it's not just America. We're not just the
Well,
number one.
And this stuff's a lot more
well,
expensive everywhere else.
that's true.
Exactly.
But my girlfriend's American, so I should get into the habit of speaking in American terms sooner rather than
No.
later.
But no, I think not having to add on more to your PC, right? Where it's a thing like if you have a future-proof PC, right? If you're 3D ready, like so, what's that extra bit to get yourself in? So you're more than likely going to be an early adopter. But if I'm somebody who maybe hasn't been there yet or is getting ready to make that kind of a move,
Hmm.
I might be a little bit more hesitant than somebody who has a PlayStation where I already have the unit and now you're just adding existing hardware. So I am very interested. I really can't wait to see what Sony does when it comes to the VR space because I'm somebody who I am completely I don't I don't I don't want to say I am um, I'm disillusioned by it. It's just I don't think it can work theoretically for like let's say an 80-hour game or even a 20-hour game because like you brought up, John, what happens when you have that motion sickness or you
Yeah.
you know try to tell this long narrative? Like that's the kind of the downside of it doing the kind of tech demo stuff is we don't have something which is going to be narrative based that I'm going to be sitting down and looking at. So that's where it's going to get me is where we can start talking about narrative based content.
Do you think that starts with baby steps though, with more experimental games, maybe like a Gone Home or something, and something in that vein, or a PT? Do you start to creep towards your sprawling RPG epics with these kind of baby steps?
Well, I think that's what you would want to go to, right? So the thing that you would want to do is you would want to have the kind of that experience, like you said, like a Gone Home or like a Her Story, like something where it's kind of it kind of can guide you and you're doing that narrative based focus type thing, especially with those point and click those kind of point and click games where it was a natural evolution from the old ones. But being able to immerse yourself into the world and have it something where it kind of latches you on for an extended period of time, because then if you stay latched on for that extended period of time, right, it will allow them to see, okay, well, this is how long you can stay in VR without it becoming uncomfortable, or this is how long this can work in VR. So that's why you kind of want to I would say you want to kind of like, it's something where that's where you're going to want to start kind of pushing it through if you want to see this work, right? And I guess the big things that people are going to be asking is, with something like No Man's Sky, which that seems like that would be a perfect, this exploration game where you can go anywhere. That's a perfect use for VR, when a complete immersion. Is that the thing that you would use to be, this is the Mario 64 VR, this is the the monkey ball of VR, where it's showing you
Why it
here's
exists.
this yeah, but here's this platform, here's how this platform should work. So that's what VR is kind of missing, and I think that's going to be your baby step. It's that thing where it shows like this is what you need to do for VR to work.
Hmm.
Well, at the minute, when VR, as far as VR is concerned, aren't they going back and kind of adding VR support to games that came out like a year or two ago? Like kind of games that are just new enough that they can just throw it in?
I
Like
don't.
that would
I'm not
still
sure
get
if that
people used
works.
to it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to get people who are invested in those things kind of used to
Yeah.
it. But I'm very hesitant for us as an industry to be so used to kind of port backwards. And the reason why I say that is you have to have something that's temporal, right? So
Yeah.
if you just throw a VR on a Gone Home, and then say, well, this is what VR is. It's still not that. It's still not really showcasing that, what it can do when you have something that's built from the ground up. So that's why
It's like in movies when they add 3D in post-production, it just doesn't feel quite right.
But what you say, like, you would probably be able to get away with like GTA 5 in VR if you had that first-person view. It would probably take them about like 2 years. But if you presented that to someone who didn't have any interest in VR, and then they were like, "Well, you can play GTA 5 in VR now," people would go mad. I think it would be great. But then again, it's not really pushing anything forward. It's just a reissue with another thing slapped on. Because most VR games are they're like early Wii games at the minute, especially the Vive, because you've got the 2 motion controllers, and then you're just looking about instead of waving your controller. So like there's not really much game there for most of them.
Yeah. It is unfortunate how hard of a sell just visually all this VR stuff is, because it's something you kind of have to experience. You just got to get people to like be in it and integrate themselves with it. It's kind of hard to do in a press conference, which is why I'm kind of back and forth on if they're going to put a huge focus on VR. Obviously, they're going to spotlight it for a little while because it's coming out in a few months. But I don't know whether than just sell it in like retail spaces, your GameStops, Best Buys, that kind of thing.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why you make E3, with this being the first year where there's actually a public form of E3.
Yeah, I remember
Los Angeles. Yeah, so I think with doing that, it's a great way to showcase VR, because now you're doing kind of the PAX thing, right? So like if you go to PAX, I can put my face, I can put my face on the unit. Like you're basically doing that same thing. So it's
please have baby wipe dispensers nearby.
Or just like douse people in their eye just to make sure it's like we don't want to make sure nobody has like pink eye at this event. So
seriously, that's actually a pretty serious concern.
I never even thought of that. That's awful. Is that what they have to do?
All right, but okay, so John, you're looking to see how VR is kind of integrated this E3. Dylan, what are you kind of looking forward to at this E3?
Honestly, my expectations are kind of low because a lot of people sort of backed out, and it's kind of dubious what the real purpose of E3 can be anymore. Maybe it'll morph into more of a community kind of thing like PAX, but there's already 4 PAXs, so I mean I don't know. I have my expectations low, so I'm probably going to be pleasantly surprised by a few things. But I mean, I have my expectations in check this year. I expect a lot of sequels, your Titanfall 2s, your Watch Dogs 2s, your Mass Effect 4s, all that stuff. But that just leaves room for surprises and hype stuff when that happens. I don't think it's going to be quite as surprise-horrific, let's say, as Sony last year, but we'll see.
Yeah, Sony had all the surprises last year. Like they were just like, oh hey,
and how many of them are coming out this year?
Yeah.
Well, none of them. None of them. They're like, we have Last Guardian, and we have Shinbu, and we have Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy more. Like we.
But wait. Like we're splitting Final Fantasy 7 into 3 games, and Shenmue's getting the Kickstarter, and Last Guardian's still kind of in the ether. So, I mean, that's just me having to keep my hype in check. That stuff's really cool, and it's still cool that they're doing like a Final Fantasy 7 remake with such reverence. Like they didn't do this for any of the other ones. The most reverence that remakes for Final Fantasy got before was like 4 when they redid it on DS or something like that. So it's still cool, but I just have to keep my expectations in check with that stuff. Maybe we'll see more stuff on like Kingdom Hearts, maybe a new world, because the last thing I heard was Comic-Con Big Hero 6 World, which was pretty cool actually.
Yeah,
but
I know
we'll
see. Yeah, I know that there was just ahead of E3 with all the trailers that came out. There was the trailer for Kingdom Hearts 2.8, and in that trailer they kind of showed more of like just more of like the backstory stuff, and they said that there will be an announcement later on this year. So I don't think we see anything about Kingdom Hearts 3 at E3. I don't think that game comes out. I've stated that for years now. Kingdom Hearts 3 is a game that will never come out.
So. It's just eternal.
It's just eternal.
What do they call it? Not shovelware, but vaporware. That's it.
Vaporware. Yeah.
Eternal vaporware.
Now, myself personally, the big thing that I'm looking forward to is seeing how these brand new IPs are going to do. As you know, as we lead up to E3, we got announced trailers for Horizon Zero Dawn, but there are a lot of games that are coming forward. You have the new game from Deep Silver, where it's a brand new IP and it's kind of like Saints Row superheroes. Like I want to see the new IP that we're going to hold on to. Like I think of looking at last year where you had all those announcements from Xbox with those brand new IPs, and like I said, you had Horizon Zero Dawn, where you could tell these brand new stories. We still have a game, as the first press conference that will be coming up is the EA press conference, and so you have Amy Herzig. I'm butchering names. I'm also extremely tired. But we have her Star Wars game that's looming. You have I think there's another Star Wars game that's in development as well, that we could be looking forward to. You have Bethesda. Do they go with a Wolfenstein or do they decide to go and do a brand new IP? With the studio, like it's that kind of thing of do we see more of Scalebound? Like, do we see these
Oh God,
things
I forgot
that?
about that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm thinking. Is like I want to see this E3 be the one where we're like, okay, now we need to make our own franchises because what we're asking consumers to do, and this is now almost being confirmed across the board for all three, for Nintendo, for PlayStation, and for Xbox, and a little
Buy
bit
more
less on Nintendo.
consoles.
Yeah, well, a little bit less on Nintendo because it's a brand new console, but with PlayStation and Xbox, hey, we want you to use this updated PS4 and this Xbox One. And like John said, like I've become a PC gamer only because like on the PS4 is its third year, right? Like what's the defining only on PS4 game that has been out there, or the only on Xbox One, like the new franchise that's come out to define those systems. Like when I
The
look at
closest I
something,
think we got was Shadow of Mordor, and it never really got past that. It really was the system that you could only accomplish on newer hardware, and
right?
they proved that by making Shadow of Mordor on 360 PS3 without the Nemesis system. But even that, it's like a marginal upgrade. You see all these great games like Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3. That's an upgrade of a 5-year-old game. Uncharted, that's a sequel to a 10-year-old franchise. So this whole, I think, generation has just been like, it's marginally better than the last ones, but it's not
Yeah,
gonna blow you away.
everything's just kind of eking along a little bit, whereas
Hmm.
like things seems to have gone back a bit on PC. Like there's just tons of like indie and small dev team games now, but they're doing better than a lot of big budget games these days because people are just kind of sick of playing the same shit
Right.
every year, which I'm
Eh,
pretty happy about. Like,
but
speaking
I would,
as an indie developer.
but what I would kind of ask in that is, you know, and have we become, and this is not just with games, but it's almost like a media across the board. Have we become so segmented and niche? Like what I like will be what I like. I play JRPGs. I play narrative focused games.
Hmm.
I've played like the new invention of point and click adventures, right? Where it's actually we're just telling these stories and you're going to kick them through. That's what my personal taste is. I don't, I'm not a Call of Duty guy. Like I'll play it with people, but that's not what I'm aiming towards. Has that kind of stunted the growth in like creating a franchise in the system? Because from when the 360 was announced to now, the internet is a completely different thing, and now we're able to do a live show, from people that one from Ireland, one from Ohio, and one in Florida, like with relatively no problems. And even so, but we're able to kind of do our own thing. We're able to funnel, what we like, as opposed to in a 360 where everything was a catch-all, right? Which
Hmm.
that opposed to the Xbox where there was a barely a kind of a more of a mainstream strapping around it, where at that time, it is what you got. And then as you move forward, as you move backwards, like you think of the launch of the N64, and you think of the launch of the Super Nintendo. Like the launch of the Super Nintendo, a lot of those games are considered classics. Where you have your Pilot Wings, your Legend of Zelda. But is it because that was what they had, and there's not this big grouping where you can just be like, well, I just want to get what I enjoy.
That's the consequence, I think, of just gaming getting so much bigger, is that so many different kinds of people with different tastes and audiences and all that jazz is there's just more of it. I don't think that it's like shrunk by any means. I just think that because there's more people and more voices, that there's more interests and more niches that can be grown. So, yeah, maybe the over nicheification of all this stuff might be sour for a few different people, but I think overall it's just better because like if I just want to make a certain type of game, there's going to be a pretty dedicated kind of audience who's into that type of game. There's this cool indie game called Rivals of Aether that's like inspired by Smash Brothers, and a lot of Smashers play it, and those are pretty. Those people like what they like, They like Smash Brothers. But because they were able to fill that kind of niche, it can kind of thrive and be its own thing. I think a lot of games can do that. So, yeah. In conclusion, I guess I kind of don't know. It'll just be interesting to watch, but there's just a lot more people playing, and that means a lot more tastes.
I kind of think it's actually a little bit the opposite. I remember with I never had a PS3, but I had a 360, and I remember that there was a lot of games out on the 360 that were very hard to kind of put into a genre. Like a lot of people, they weren't that dear to produce, so you got a lot of smaller games, you got a lot of bigger games, you got a lot of games coming out of nowhere, things that people have never heard of. Some of them stuck, and some of them didn't. But now it's got to the stage where it costs so much to make a game that if you're stuck anywhere in the middle, you've either got to compromise and jump on board with a publisher and go large, or you've got to go kind of super indie, and that is also its own crowd. So it kind of seems like there's very little room for anything in the middle anymore. Like everything is either always like a sequel of something, or it's backed by a huge publisher, or it's made by a team of 4 guys in a room with no lights.
Right.
It's kind of weird.
That's kind of where I was.
There's no middleware in there.
There isn't much of a middle, but I was saying like from where I was thinking of games could grow is just like maybe a phone market can like be a haven for some indie games like Downwell or something. That wouldn't really have taken off on many other platforms. So I guess my head is more in the indie space with that kind of stuff. And of course, I'll still play AAA games and stuff and enjoy them, but I'm not so sure that AAA stuff is gonna last forever when it comes to games and stuff. But indie,
I think,
just by nature of it being a little more tight knit and less people, that's kind of gonna exist no matter what platforms there are.
But I think as an industry we're at this crossroads that film kind of hit in the '90s when Richard Linklater and Tarantino and Kevin Smith, like when these guys realized like, hey, we could get like a camcorder or probably like a smaller caliber camera, and we could shoot these movies instead of having to spend millions of dollars. We could do it on thousands of dollars, and we could budget it ourselves. We had a very large influx of indie film, right? So that's when indie film became a genre. I think that we're the indie game. I think we're at the time where with our connectivity, all this talent that maybe would have never linked up now have an opportunity to talk to each other. So we're going to see an influx of it, but I think that it will end up becoming its own genre, just like indie film. And I think what you're going to kind of see is you're going to see the big studios or the big companies kind of work within themselves to kind of make the AAA games might become more they might have more of akin to an indie game, but have more backing to it, right? So with
eventually we'll end up with AAA indie games, which is kind of a
basically, yeah.
I mean, we're almost sort of there. What do you call like Braid or Fez or something like they get that sort of exposure?
Well, technically, I know Braid and Fez they're kind of the like the highest reaching indie games, but they were still only made by like not that many people.
Yeah.
I think when you kind of have to think like AAA indie games at the minute, it would be like Rocket League.
Okay, yeah.
I'd say Rocket League is probably your closest to a AAA indie game because it's got like this huge, absolutely huge support from Sony. Like they're just loving it every step of the way, and they're giving it a lot of push. Same with Steam, they love it. Everyone's just pushing the shit out of it. And, like it may have been an indie game when it like kind of released a couple of years ago, but it's definitely gone beyond that now. And if a AAA studio sees an indie game with a good idea, then they may let them finish it, and then they'll go, right, well, we're going to publish it for you, and then they'll start, kind of telling them, here's what we think you should do next, and then before you know it, it's not an indie game anymore. It's just a AAA game developed with 12 people instead of 400.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's where you end up going, right? So you end up, like you said, having like Kevin Smith going to Miramax, and you might have an indie studio, and they kind of do it now. Have EA Indie or EA Catchword or Buzzphrase, or even do something like where it doesn't even have the EA name under it. But
EA Buzzphrase, that's a good one. Yeah.
But
EA Cash Grab.
But you do all that, and that's how you kind of move forward. I don't think AAA games are by no means. I don't think they're done, just because the growing public, like we've already seen a delineation of, people who would consider themselves indie game fans or, more hardcore fans to the mainstream fan, right? Mm-hmm. And we're kind of already seeing that delineation. Those mainstream games, like, they are going to get a mainstream public. It's the reason why games like Overwatch needs that big marketing push, because people who've never, like, I was at work with people who don't frequent game sites, and they were like, "Oh, well, what's Overwatch? What's all this stuff?" And
it was everywhere.
Yeah,
it was everywhere, and I still couldn't work out where to buy it. I was like, it's not on Steam, it's not on Origin. Like, where the hell do you go to actually buy it on PC?
Funny enough, they have their own client, so
yeah,
Blizzard.
Never played World of Warcraft. Never played anything that needed a Battle.net account. It took me like an hour of searching. It was like, because I kept seeing Overwatch Origin Edition everywhere. So it's like, okay, right, that's the version that's out on Origin. It's like, fucking pick your games better.
Yeah, it was an odd naming choice for Origin Edition, but I mean, I think Overwatch is one of those examples of like the power of word of mouth, and video and influencers and stuff is still a very powerful thing.
Well, Blizzard has like an almost immaculate record, like when it comes to game releases. Like not really many people have anything bad to say about that company. And at the minute, when everyone is being dragged through the mud for everything they've ever said or every wrong move they've ever made, Blizzard are coming out surprisingly on top.
Right, and I remember when Diablo 3 came out, that was a huge stumble. But they fixed it, and everybody's like, Diablo's awesome.
Yeah, they saw that. Well, yeah, that's also they've proved that they're one of the few companies that are willing to say, like, right, we messed up, we're going to fix it, instead of just saying, no, it's broke because these are all terrible people, and just pay for it every year.
Yeah, but I think I think like stuff like that. I think I think Blizzard is going to be kind of like, when we talk about the AAA indie game, like Blizzard kind of seems like that, right? Because Hearthstone is this card game.
Yeah.
From World of Warcraft that should but it's this card game and it's this big thing.
One thing or two about Hearthstone.
I'll tell you, I've wasted money on card packs in Hearthstone, and I never thought I would ever buy anything for like a free-to-play game. God damn it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Overwatch is this failed MMO that they were going to make, like, this is the next one, and they took all those assets and were like, well, hey, let's just do like a Team Fortress shooter.
Let's see what the market kind of is sort of lacking in. What's the fever pitch kind of fervor? And like Overwatch could have just as easily been something like Evolve, but it very much wasn't.
Yeah. And there's not really much in Overwatch at the minute, right? It's just kind of like a couple of team deathmatch kind of things.
It's
there's no story or no single player.
More like objective base, as opposed to team deathmatch.
Yeah.
So
there's not a lot, but they're going to fill it out over the next knowing Blizzard years, Yeah. Like they'll support it for a long while.
But it's funny that it started with like almost no single player stuff and not that many game modes, and no one really seems all that annoyed about it just because it plays so well. Like you never hear that happening. So it's like
To
hard to
me-
give us half a game, but unless people are happy just to play the half that they got, which is kind of funny.
Exactly.
Well,
That like last year, that's exactly what Splatoon was. You know, it had a smidge of single player content, but the core gameplay of the multiplayer is what got me keep going back and back.
Right. Well, to me, Overwatch is what Destiny. I thought Destiny was going to be. Like it was that kind of just like, well, hey, this is you'll play online and it'll be objective based and this will, like that's what I thought that Destiny should be. So I think it I can't wait to see what more they do with that game. But I'm extremely impressed what happened with it. But to get us to press conferences. Not talking about Overwatch. Yeah, so press conferences. So today, Sunday, as you're watching, if you're watching this live, the first press conference will be EA. That will be at 1 o'clock Pacific time. That will be at 4 o'clock Eastern time. John, I don't.
Probably about midnight over here. I have no idea. We're not the main audience.
So here's how I know. Here's how I reference time. Anything past Eastern Standard Time, because I follow a lot of people from Ireland, from the UK, who are wrestling.
I just assume they're 5 hours ahead.
Always,
That's what I thought it was.
Well,
yeah.
I follow a lot of people from from the UK and from Ireland who are wrestling fans who always complain about like, oh, you guys pay-per-views. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning over here. It's like,
I was watching Extreme Rules or whatever, the last one that was on there, and it didn't start until 2. I was like, this is horseshit. I gotta be able to work in like 6 hours.
Yeah. So I am absolutely mad at that. But okay. So yeah. So so the EA's press conference is starting. So obviously there is questions about Mass Effect Andromeda.
I think we get a gameplay trailer. Straight up, we'll get a full gameplay, sort of explain the bit of the world, what it is.
Yeah, because that got pushed back to next year already, didn't it? Yeah.
Early next year, which next year is the new late this year.
Yeah,
in
may as
terms
well
of,
be.
like in amounts of releases. I mean, you got Persona 5.
Quarter 4. It's all in there somewhere.
It's a lot. But yeah, so expect some Mass Effect stuff. They already leaked some Titanfall stuff. There's going to be like a single-player Titanfall 2 campaign. They're going to expand more than that. Battlefield 1, probably that's probably going to be there. What else? I mean, if I was to be just a wild card guess, maybe something from Dead Space. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, I still think the Amy Hennig game. I think you have to at least bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be some Star Wars there, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I think you would. I think you would do the official announcement of Battlefront 2 or Battlefront 2. I think you have to.
I don't think it will be a sequel for that yet. I think it will be like a big expansion. I don't think they're going to go straight for 2 with that.
They're already loaded up with shooters for the year. They got Titanfall 2 and they got Battlefield. And I know Battlefront's huge, but that's next year, I think.
Well, but you gotta think about it. You have Rogue One. What was that Dutch angle? That was weird. You have Rogue One coming out later on this year, right? So
so make it an expansion that's all about Rogue One.
Yeah, or
that might be the best option.
Maybe if either one of these other 2 secret Star Wars games they're developing is kind of maybe closer to not being a first-person shooter, I assume one's probably going to be a third-person action platform or whatever.
Something like
that. Maybe they'll try and be like, yeah, this is the Rogue One game. Or they might actually just straight up say this is the game for Rogue One coming out when the movie comes out. We've been making it the whole time. Woo! But that probably won't happen.
That would actually be pretty cool. Because developers don't do that anymore, right? They don't like, hey, we're not going to just make a game, and then we'll slap the license on it because like that's what they did when we were growing up, and those were like the better license games where it's like, we already had an idea for this fighting game, but we want to
put Nintendo characters in it.
Star Wars Masters of Terrakasi.
Oh God. No, we want to put Fight Club, so we had this fighting engine. Why not make a Fight Club game?
I already modeled Fred Durst. We got to put him in.
Yeah.
But or like the Warriors game. That would be interesting to me. I think we get our obligatory like sports moment.
I
don't know if we get a.
or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if we get a return of the Hoop God. I hope we do.
Jesus. Oh yeah, what about feeling for really horrible stage personas this year? Do you think there's going to be more or less?
I think there's more. I think it's almost to the point where they kind
Parody.
of want to ironically, like, oh,
Yeah.
this guy's bad at it, and so
Yeah.
we're gonna have.
They're gonna bring
I
up
think,
Mr. Caffeine with a mullet. Just be
yeah.
like, yeah, dude, try something new, man.
It's like
So
watching
they'll-
it's like watching a slow motion car crash. You just can't look away.
Pretty
well, the
much.
thing is, when it's an earnest thing, right? When it's an earnest, like we thought, like Mr. Caffeine's really trying to go out there. It's hilarious. But,
And they're gonna get the same guy to write Aisha Tyler scripts they do every year. She
yeah.
deserves better. I swear.
She's absolutely great.
She
in
deserves
everything
better
that's
scripts.
at E3.
Yeah.
Like
She's
she's
not just in the Ubisoft one. What was
Yeah,
she?
that-
What did she
yeah,
present
yeah.
there?
She will be doing
The
stuff.
Ubisoft one, yeah.
Yeah, like because she was last year. She did the lady boner.
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
I know some of that stuff kind of did feel like it was trying just a little bit too hard, but you can see that they at least weren't going for that. At least that wasn't intended for like kid audience. It was like your late teens, your early 20s, that kind of thing. So at least they're pandering to the right age bracket instead of 12-year-olds.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is good.
dude, I saw her in Friends. She was making out with Ross. And I was like, God damn, she was acting 20 years ago.
She's the only black person in Friends. Side note, like she's
Like,
literally
Pretty much,
in
yeah.
Friends. She is representative as the only black person in New York. So.
All right.
But yeah, so I mean that's EA. EA will probably be like a smaller thing. EA won't be on the show floor, but they have an event outside of outside of the convention center. So if you're in Los Angeles, go to the EA event. See the games that you're going to see at the press conference. And if you're in Los Angeles, the outside E3 event they're doing, try to go to that too. This is a very unprecedented thing. There we go. I can speak English.
Presidential.
This is this is a very unprecedented thing where we can as fans and you can actually go out and you can see these games just like press could. So I think that's a really cool idea. So if you're in the Los Angeles area, please go and check that out.
Bethesda,
So
right? That's next.
Bethesda, yes, Bethesda. So Bethesda.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, and the thing with Bethesda, before 2014, I would have never been like this. I wouldn't have guessed they should have gotten a full press conference, right?
But now they're a publisher instead of just your Fallout and Elder Scrolls teams.
Yeah.
And it makes sense to me that like after your what was it, Wolfenstein and especially Doom, like their repertoire for being a publisher is just keep going up and up. Like they got Dishonored under their belt. They again are probably doing a Wolfenstein sequel.
We'll get Dishonored 2.
I keep hearing Prey 2 come back up, but
I hope that turns out. I remember like that trailer that came out a couple of years ago, where like Space Bounty Hunter was it was just one of the best things I'd ever seen, and then they were just like, nope, it's not happening. It was
But
too
it could
good.
be another Doom where they made like 75% of a build and it's just like, nah, forget this. Let's do it.
I mean, and that's what's crazy is like these IPs that they're bringing back. Like, who gave a fuck about Wolfenstein before the New Order? Like, Wolfenstein was a dead franchise, right?
It had its historical purpose, but nobody really cared about the one from 2009. And
I mean, we got Mecha Hitler out of it, so that was all anybody really needed.
exactly.
Right. And then Doom 4, was that like the bad one? Like where it was just
Well,
like,
okay, so Doom 3
what-
wasn't bad,
it
but
was Doom
it
3.
didn't
I
leave
know.
a huge impact.
Yeah.
It turned into
Well,
survival.
what was Doom? Right.
Oh,
But it was,
Doom, yeah.
the thing was like, what was Doom? Like, it wasn't.
Like Doom was Doom 1 and Doom 2 from the classic era. Doom 3 was a nice exercise and sort of survival horror kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
it didn't leave a huge impact. And then Doom 4 has been in development for like 10 years. So
Right. So
and it turns out it's one of the best games of the year. So
Yeah, that game. I didn't expect it to like it anywhere near as much as I did. It's the only game that I have finished in like the last 6 months. Just literally could not stop playing it. So
yeah, it just fucking
I'm
owns.
very
Like,
happy that they came back.
That's the thing. It just fucking owns. Like, and that's like it was a. If you know what it felt like, it felt like a proper video game, right?
Yeah.
Like Doom felt like it's like, hey, you guys are all doing all this stuff, but we're Doom. We know that we're Doom. Like, you don't make what makes Fast and Furious great. It's not trying to be Citizen Kane. It's like we
Yeah.
have cars. Like we will.
So,
with
It knows what it is. It knows that it's going for absurdity, and it knows what tone to take itself.
yeah.
Not full-fledged self-parody, but not super serious either.
Right.
I remember like a couple of days after Doom came out, I read a thing online. I assumed this person was a COD fan or something. They were just like, I'm not playing this because it doesn't have any regenerative health. You have a double jump and you can't aim down your sights. It's like that's why they weren't playing it. It's like you're everything that's wrong with gaming right now. Everything.
And that gameplay we've been doing was so good. Of like, oh, here's the chainsaw. You're gonna use this when you're low on ammo and health and stuff. Just Doom was handled in such a really good way. I have no doubt that Bethesda's like just gonna keep on growing and being a strong publisher of all these games. Because when you look at stuff like WB, they're not exactly faltering. You know, they still got Injustice 2 coming in the wings and stuff, but
yeah, but
you look at their PC stuff and it's just like, well, they're just done. That's an argument.
As a PC gamer, WB does not give a shit
exist.
about
Except for Witcher, somehow.
Although, to be fair, I think I was one of the few people who didn't have any problems with that Batman game. Like, I know the frame rate dropped a little bit when you were outside, but some people were like, God, this is so unplayable. You can't even turn around without the game crashing. So I didn't really see... I was lucky enough to not have any of that happen to me. But Warner Brothers kind of seem like they're going the way of the studio tie-in games.
Yeah.
Like, they'll probably do a Batman versus Superman game or something, or like if the Justice League the Justice League movie fighting game. They'll do Injustice 2 and they'll do a Justice League fighting game, which will just be.
I'd actually see what they would do if they tried to put like a non-NetherRealm team on the fighting game. What would they? But then again, wouldn't that just be in something like the Marvel Clash of Heroes, iPhone games?
Yeah, that wasn't a fighting game. It was just like those old Marvel Alliance games. Which they were alright at the time, but I mean you can get that on a phone now. That's not really that big of a deal.
Oh yeah, I mean
they even make the NetherRealm games on their phone to tie into the actual games.
Yeah, I mean that's what the Marvel Hero stuff is, right? It's just all like Diablo clones that you kind of can.
Yeah. They play themselves almost because all you do is just pay money to get all the best shit, and then what's the point?
We all want Marvel vs. Capcom 4, but it's not going to happen when you can spend a tenth of the budget and make twice the money.
Yeah, or when they're too busy fucking up Street Fighter.
Well, that story DLC coming one of these days.
Coming in, let's say in quotes June. Also,
we're gonna finish this game within the first year of it being released.
I love their dialogue of like, we're gonna start delaying stuff and making sure they're finished first. Like literally, the last 3 characters are gonna be sometime in this year. They just don't want it. They want them to be like complete and good characters. Like. That mentality was in a long way when you released the 5th Street Fighter.
Yeah, you should know what you're doing by now. You really should.
I think, with us talking about Bethesda, I think that's why I'm actually really jazzed about Bethesda because last year they did it. They weren't talking about, hey, we're making Fallout 4. We're making Fallout 4. Like, get ready for E3 because we're talking about Fallout 4. They waited until Fallout 4 was relatively finished.
Pretty much done.
They did slight teases. Like I remember if you subscribe to their newsletter, you got some kind of letter from the overseer like a day early, but that was kind of it. And I love that aspect of E3 that I hope gets more popular. It's just our game's pretty much done. Here's what we're going to show you, and here's what's going to be down the pipeline.
It's it's a thing like back at E3. I've heard Dan Amrich, who works at Ubisoft, talk about when he was at the with Ubisoft. Because I think he also works with Ubisoft San Francisco on the South Park game. But Dan Amrich was talking about when he was at the E3 in '95 when the Saturn was announced, and they were like, "And you can get it today." Like that's that's an announcement. Like that's what the fuck are you talking about?
People can't really do that anymore, but that would be great. Like
I honestly feel like they shouldn't have done it back then. Like
when is Nintendo's press conference? Are they even doing one?
Tuesday.
Well, it's a tech showing on Thursday.
Primarily Zelda, I think.
Yeah, I know, but like, what if at the end of it, like their entire press conference, there's just like a little box with a sheet on it over the whole thing, and then right at the end they're like, NX, buy it now.
I don't know what it'll be like. Iwata pulling the Wii out of his pocket.
I don't know if they announce NX, you can buy it right now. That would probably shut down everything because it would
Yeah,
just be
people would
like.
go ballistic. Like,
But yeah, so but yeah, that's Bethesda. I don't think we see anything from we're not going to get anything from from Fallout thing. I think
did
with Far Harbor, like
did
that would
someone
probably
not
be
mention?
the
I heard somewhere somebody mentioned a Skyrim HD release or something.
I don't know, man.
yeah. There's
That
been
seems kind
talk
of odd.
about it. Yeah, there's been talk about
Like,
Skyrim HD release, but
Is
I don't
how
know if
can
you
that
get
how can that be old enough to have a HD release? Like
I,
it'll still look like shit,
I
like
think they'll want
HD or
to
not.
primarily highlight console mods on that again.
Oh, yeah,
that.
like
Well,
upgrade it a little bit so yeah, people can complain at them instead of just the Fallout people.
like I said, I don't like that game. I was burned on that game. I played it on PS3, and it's a buggy, broken mess.
It seems
Um,
like
Hmm.
maybe they looked at GTA and it's like, oh, we got to get on this. Like, add a couple of bells and whistles, add the mod support, and it'll be like, fuck it, we'll sell another 10 million copies of Skyrim.
Yeah,
Like it
that's
seems
true.
like a very safe bet. Whether I would rather see Oblivion, which would have a lot more retooling
Yeah,
and a visual splendor
yeah.
to it.
I think if you were going to waste time on doing one of them as a HD release, I still think more people liked Oblivion than they did Skyrim,
I don't
or
know.
at
yeah,
least
I mean, everyone
the
who
the purists
Yeah, the
anyway did.
purists,
yeah
obviously. I mean, the
the
Yeah.
people
purists that
who
want Morrowind. So.
yeah the people who are fans of Fallout, Fallout of
Elder
Elder
Scrolls.
Scrolls. To me,
That was
it was
cool.
always been like Morrowind and Oblivion, right? Like those are the two. Like
And like Skyrim
Morrowind.
was big, but it didn't exactly cater to
Was it
hardcore
like
Elder Scrolls
I
fans.
only remember like kind of very briefly playing Oblivion was Skyrim considered like a really dumbed down version of Elder Scrolls?
And then it's ironic that Fallout's kind of in the same boat, even though I really like Fallout 4. It kind of
I don't.
where it's more commercialized, I guess.
I mean the same. My thing is I'm a bad decision on this because with Fallout and with Elder Scrolls, I find those all games like because they're so massive and they're so large, there's so much to do. There, every time I play it, I catch like every bug, and every like silly, stupid thing. So I'm not a
I
fan
mean,
of
it
that
still
series.
happens from time to time, but
It's
I don't
kind of
know.
I always
It's
thought that was some of the charm though.
yeah, it's almost not. It's in the same realm of irony, almost. Like, oh well,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, of course the mysterious stranger's not going to do what I want, or of course, like he's going to be like inside my head or something.
Yeah, but I think those little moments of this is not going the way I wanted it to, but it's still funny. Is kind of worth it being a bit of a broken mess sometimes. Because like
I mean,
I've been playing Fallout 4 and on Skyrim on PC for years now, and I have modded them both so much to the point where neither of them work anymore. But it's still funny. Like if anything, that makes the game more enjoyable because I got about like 20 or so hours into Fallout 4. I was just like, well, this is Fallout 3 again. Not really much, not really all that much different to it. And then just started downloading everything I could get my hands on. It's like, okay, all right, now this is better. But now
Right.
the game doesn't work and I can't play it anymore. So I have to uninstall it to start it again. But it's my decision.
But those Bethesda games
Yeah,
kind of just, I just like the exploration of it a lot because that's kind of what drove me to play a lot of games like Metroid Prime is just the exploration. First-person exploration
right.
is a cool thing to me. Like even in confined stuff like Gone Home or whatever, I still think it's pretty. It's a cool thing that doesn't happen a lot. So I like when a big game like Skyrim or Fallout 4 to do that.
Right. Yeah, I definitely see it, but I like the move to more focused kind of story-based games. Like I think we do get a full-on Dishonored, Dishonored 2.
I mean that's
You
coming.
know,
We've known that for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah,
There's just been some
we'll
stuff
get
on
an
that already.
we'll get an announced date for Dishonored 2. But I'm really looking forward to that game. I really like Dishonored 1. I can't wait to see where that franchise goes. So I think we do that. I think, and this is what I think. Like the big talk is, do they do the new Wolfenstein, which it looks like it's going to be, or they're going to do Quake. I actually want to see if they do a brand new IP. Like if we go through this thing and Bethesda's like, and now we have this new game, like, and we're doing this new inventive thing. I would like to see Bethesda kind of branch off and do, start a new IP and maybe using those studios that we're working on Doom and working on, Wolfenstein because
Uh-huh.
like a kind of a newish shooter like that would be a very interesting thing to me. Where if we're taking it away from like the grit of like where you're playing Call of Duty and it feels like you're watching Zero Dark 30, or you're like all this great, like if we just have like a like almost like a Serious Sam, like a a shooter where it's just like, we don't know, just fucking have fun. It's a video game like that. I think that's what we kind of desperately need, and I would love to see that studio kind of just basically do a brand new game where it's like that kind of shooter. Like
everything seems to be going into space at the minute.
Yeah.
That would be them doing some kind of space related game would be pretty good. Not a deep strategy space game, but something like a No Man's Sky. But
yeah.
To see how well that does when it comes out, I think could like influence a lot of people to try and we're going to do that, but we're going to do it better because we're a bigger studio. So I think Bethesda would probably be like, right, we can have a game that's a broken mess set over one planet, or a game that's a broken mess set over 1,000 planets. And I think they would see that and be like, yeah, fuck it, yeah, we're going to do that.
It's interesting to see. Like, I'm very curious where Gearbox will go from here, because like Battleborn, it didn't do too well. It's not similar to Overwatch, but Overwatch just kind of overtook everything.
Yeah, it was released at a very poor time, I think.
If it came out in November, I think it would have been a lot more fine. But
yeah,
I mean,
I don't know. I think a lot of people had like actual problems with
the game itself. It wasn't that good of a game.
Yeah.
I played it at PAX, and even when I played it, I was kind of like, well, this is kind of underwhelming and boring.
Yeah, it wasn't just that Overwatch came out and it was like, oh hey, we have these fun characters and we're doing this fun inventive thing, and this is something that that you would want to do. And then like Battleborn came out and it was kind of like that humor, like John brought up like earlier, where it's like, hey, we're playing to this crowd, but we're specifically playing to this crowd, right? So like it's the reason why a DreamWorks movie is not a Disney movie, right? Like
because it's just terrible.
No, sorry. no.
Shit.
But but DreamWorks movies are so much like, hey, we are focused on this niche and we're gonna tell these jokes, and we're so laser focused to this current thing, and Disney's like, we're gonna just be a broad thing because you're gonna want to play it, you're gonna want to watch it with your parents.
Yeah.
Disney
Disney goes for the kids watching the movie and also the parents of the kids watching the movie, and DreamWorks is more like, are you 4? Are you 4 years old? You're going to like our movie. Are you 6? You're not going to like the movie. Are you 12? Get out, just get out, leave.
We have these minions here where you can make terrible memes with.
Yay! Oh god, that was just a plague. That was just awful. Nothing good came out of that.
Still there. Ugh. Minions 2. More minions.
Oh god.
2 minions, 2 furious.
Minions 3, the minioning.
So that's Bethesda conference. So that will be all Sunday. We have EA and we have Bethesda. Then coming up at 1 o'clock Eastern time on Monday, 9 o'clock Pacific, so 5 o'clock Ireland time. Boom. I use that. Is that
the official nomenclature? Is that what's on the map? Irish time.
It's like, what is it? Is GMT -4? I have no idea.
No, I think GMT. It's Greenwich Mean Time 0. We are ground zero for time in Europe,
so
which is nice.
We're actually the time.
We're literally behind the times.
Yeah,
we're actually time.
I am 5 hours older than both of you. It's crazy.
Man, what is it like living in the future?
It's grey and hard.
How's E3?
Another Minions movie was just released over here.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for those Twinkie crossovers.
President Minion has decided to come out with his policy where there will be nothing but Minion.
Oh god.
But yeah, so starting off, we have the Microsoft press conference, and this will be a very pivotal press conference for Microsoft. Do we see the kind of the integratable Xbox One where you can kind of treat it like a PC when you move in it? Where do we go with? And
then how are they going to treat their PC gaming platform? Because that's still a big thing.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, where do we go with the Microsoft Kinect, or not Kinect, but Kinect with C? But no, where you're integrating with Microsoft Windows 10 and with the Xbox One gaming. Like, so that's a big question that's overlapping, as well as like, where are the games?
Honestly, Microsoft could be anywhere or anything. I can't get a read on them just because of how they pivoted after the whole, let's say, Don Matrick era of Microsoft.
Yeah,
the early 2010s.
the dark time.
the dark ages of Microsoft. But no, they've pivoted from that, and they've, I think, been trying to gain ground since. They've done a pretty all right job. It's just that PlayStation had such momentum that they couldn't be
Yeah.
stopped.
I think that this Microsoft, it's going to be very tech heavy. There's probably not going to be a lot of games mentioned at all. I don't think
It could be.
Do they have any like exclusives left? Is it Gears of War 5 or 4 or
They'll
whatever?
probably
it's
do
on?
another Gears of War like game. They'll do a gameplay trailer, maybe something like 8 minutes
Yeah.
long. That
I
could
mean,
be
you
a
have
big thing.
you have Gears, but Titanfall's going multi-platform with its.
Yeah, so that's not even a Microsoft thing anymore.
But maybe there's
Well.
they have a lot of small things under their wing too, though. They could probably draw out some Killer Instinct stuff. Because that is pretty hype for a select niche. Again, going.
Yeah.
No, and it's a fun game, but how many times can you beat that horse of, hey, we have this rare thing? Like obviously you have the pirate game. I literally forgot the name of that game. And you have the game with that's being created by Inafune and the studio.
Recore.
Yeah, Recore.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have more stuff on that. Who knows?
I have forgotten about that.
Yeah. It's such a cool idea. Like, oh, I like Mega Man and I like Metroid Prime, so.
It's Retro Studio.
I think he told me like a year or two ago, like, this is the most Dylan Tierney game I've ever seen.
Literally, because like I said, it's the Retro Studio guys, and it's Inafune making a game about a robot dog. Like, and you're basically like going into a cave to search. Like I was like, this is just like the perfect Dylan game. Like,
on the console, I don't have.
Yeah.
But
although I imagine that would be part of their PC initiative. Like at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if other exclusives end up on the Windows Store or whatever.
Yeah, that's just even less incentive to buy an Xbox One.
Exactly, right. But I mean, maybe they'll have the Xbox there for people who don't. A lot of people just want to buy their box and have it for a few years and never have to fiddle with anything ever again.
But that's not even the case anymore because you're going to have all these different you're going to have all these different versions now.
It'll be very interesting how they spin that.
It's like which
Honestly,
version?
I think Sony might even have more of a problem because they have a bigger install base, and it's like, how do we interpret the PS4 Neo as anything less than like, sorry, but your game's gonna look worse.
Yeah, I think
they'll never demo games on the old PS4 ever.
No, yeah. Well, sure, they still do that on PC anyway. It's like, this is running on a PS4. That's being played through a PC, that kind of thing. But
PS4's graphics look so great.
Yeah.
As the Sony rep like slides a shoe under the table.
Yeah,
and
you just see you just see a cupboard door closing, and then the wee glowing lights of a big giant Microsoft PC. Well, I think this
the man behind the curtain.
This kind of whole people are going to have to start making different versions of the same game for consoles. It's just going to aggravate people more than anything else. Like especially developers, they're going to have to take time out of just developing the game to be like, right, what features are we going to have in this? Is this going to look worse than this? Are we going to make
like how much worse do we make the regular PS4?
Yeah, there's two ways that most people are probably going to go about it. They're either going to try and find a happy medium where they're like, right, we're not going to push the game too far forward, so the less powerful Xbox doesn't lose anything, or they're just going to be like, right, we're going to have two totally different versions. One will be like Halo, and then one will be like Halo Ultimate Edition. Like one will look like garbage, and one will be amazing. And then the people who get stuck with the garbage-looking one are going to complain that their one doesn't look as good as the good one.
It could be just as simple as maybe it'll just be a little more stable, frame rate will be a little more polished, just a little bit. Like Horizon Zero Dawn. I would expect that kind of game to be almost your showpiece for the PS4 Neo, if they go that route. Because that's who's making that? Not Sucker Punch, not Naughty Dog. Established Sony first party. It's gonna be like a marquee game for Sony, so they're gonna want to push that on their new tech.
What are you trying to say?
They don't want They don't want the 40 million people who already bought a PS4 to be like, it's just gonna run like shit on mine.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to play that. It's gonna look like shit.
Yeah, I mean, you end up in a new 3DS.
Killzone guys, that's who made that. Yeah.
Gorilla?
Gorilla Games?
Gorilla was in there?
Yeah. Gorilla.
But yeah, so I think that my early prediction of like I want to see more first party stuff. I think that's the big thing with Xbox. I want to see more original IPs. I want to see Recore. I want to see what's going on with Scalebound because there hasn't been anything said, and like little hasn't been kept. Platinum Games haven't been like doing really well lately. Like they've just been meh.
Their B team's been
So
picking out stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah, they've been cranking out kind of mid-tier, smaller games though. I don't think it's an accurate representation of like kind of their entire company at the minute. I think it's just
Yeah.
more like, here, we've got some free time. We've got like 12 to 15 people that aren't doing anything. Make them whip out another arena combat thing, and then that's
and
where
then
they get
that'll
that.
kind of
Yeah,
pay the
well, I
bills
mean,
and keep the lights on
because,
for a little bit.
like even
Yeah.
like something like Star Fox, Zero.
Oh boy, I forgot they had a hand on it.
Oh yeah.
Because
Mia?
Kamiya, like he did, I think he headed that part, for that. So that's why, like I'm very
He was involved
very
in Bayonetta
hesitant
2,
to see
probably.
what that game was. Huh?
I don't think he was involved with Bayonetta 2 that much, but I'm not
No,
sure.
no, he wasn't involved.
That was a whole, like, I really want to see like a book about how Bayonetta 2 came to be, because clearly they were making it, got shut down halfway through, and Nintendo just kind of picked up the ball.
Yeah.
And kept,
That's
Like,
weird.
should-
Like Bayonetta 2 was the game that I bought a Wii U for.
it's still really
and,
good.
and then I regretted it every day ever since, because it's just became like a £200 virtual console. That's all. I've just downloaded like a couple of old games on it, and that's it.
I still love
there's
Mario Maker though.
There's Mario Maker. Like that's all you need. That's it.
I'd
Mario Maker.
pay £30 to make your own game. It's like, no,
Not to make
I'm
it, but
buying,
no,
I'm
just-
buying a game. There should be a game in there, and I don't even like Mario all that much, so I didn't really give a
I
shit.
guess that's fair if you're not too into Mario to begin with. But
Yeah.
honestly, if Mario Maker would have come out like the same day as the Wii U itself, I think that would have sold a lot more people on the gamepad. Also,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
calling it
yeah.
Wii U, that would have helped.
Yeah.
I like the gamepad though. I think it's pretty sweet having like a little TV right in front of your face.
Yeah, I think it's cool too. I mean, it's a nifty little device. It just looks a little Fisher Price, and I still think the name killed it. Like from launch, like I was working in retail when it came out, and it's just like everybody assumes that the Wii U is just the tablet that you attach to the Wii. That
Yeah, people.
and they
people
never
who
said
wouldn't know better,
otherwise.
Mm.
Alright,
They
but,
probably greenlit it around the time the Wii was still big, so it's hard to hindsight's 2020, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next press conference, at Microsoft. So we get the Microsoft. Oh, and I'm sorry. So I think we'll still get more of the QR stuff. The tablet.
Oh, you mean AR? You mean like the HoloLens?
Yeah, the AR stuff.
Oh, yeah,
I think
yeah.
we see more HoloLens.
I hope that they have a little bit more substance to it, and like maybe some kind of, like use it like you would VR. Have some demo stations or whatever. Because I heard that a lot of what that Minecraft thing was kind of, a lot of post production on that Minecraft stuff.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
I mean that it's AR. Like a lot of AR was just going to be a lot of just post production on it.
Where I'm pointing a camera and catching Pokemon with my 3DS. Remember
But
Gen
yeah.
5?
But yeah, so we're gonna go. We go from there to
Speaking of Pokemon.
at 2. I believe it's 2 p.m. Eastern time. Oh man, she had time. But
We'll throw
later
up a
on
schedule
today-
with this when we post it. So.
Ubisoft. Ubisoft will be having their press conference. Again, it'll be hosted by Aisha Tyler. What we do know is I think they're taking a break from Far Cry this year. So
Good.
I don't think we see a Far Cry.
You don't think they're going to do a Blood Dragon 2?
I don't.
Oh, actually, you know what? I would be pretty pumped for that. But Far Cry 4 was the first game that I ever got a refund for on Steam, just because
wow.
I could not get it to work at all. It was crazy. It was so broke. I couldn't believe it. I went looking it up, and they were like, to get it to work on PC or to whatever setup I had at the time, they were like, you got to make sure you don't start it with the controller plugged in. You got to make sure you have like some kind of weird like virtual keyboard. Yeah, that has to be on screen at this time. You have to start it from a certain
build an
menu.
elaborate like Tom and
as
Jerry
administrator.
puzzle maze
It was crazy. And then like when I got it on, I remember that. Do you remember like right at the start of that game, he asked you to wait in that room, and you can wait there, and then he'll come back and be like, "Here's an ending."
Yeah.
It was the way you're only supposed to wait for about like 10 minutes or so. I left that game on for like an hour. I was like, why hasn't he come back yet? And then I looked it up and we're like, yeah, I can't get out of the first area. Like I went down, you're supposed to go down and then get out of the thing at the bottom, and the door was just closed, and everybody was standing about in T poses. It's like, well, this is just not working at all. And then I just got rid of it. It's like, this is just garbage. So fuck Far Cry, piece of shit.
I mean,
I
but,
just
but when it
thought
comes
Far
to,
Cry.
I would love for them to take a break, but is Far Cry Primal like Far Cry 4's Blood Dragon? Is it that weird
Yeah,
kind of spin-off?
I would think, but I
I
mean,
think
it's
so.
not
Yeah.
fun. Like that's
It's not as
like
fun.
so. I
It's not
played.
fun. It's shit.
I played Far Cry Primal, and it just wasn't fun. Like it was. What made Blood Dragon awesome, right? Is it took everything about three that was great, and then
Yeah.
just said, "Fuck it." What if it was this badass '80s
Yeah, it was.
cartoon where you're just
I
doing all this crazy shit?
I fucking loved that game. Everything about it was just amazing. Like the fact that they got Michael Biehn in to do it, it's like this is the best thing ever. And like the handled like kind of the satire was such just like kind of earnest. Like you can tell everyone who worked on that game was like this is like every great movie out of the '80s that we can make into a game. And then Primal was like, right, nobody speaks English. Make a story around that. Like, oh shit, it's really
Like, oh, we're
it's
just gonna
really
do this old,
uninteresting.
we're gonna create an old dead language, and then we're
Yeah.
gonna make you do the hunting. All the hunting parts from Far
I mean,
Cry.
Pokemon technically did that, except Braille's not exactly dead, but
No, but I mean Pokemon, but it still was a Pokemon-ass Pokemon game, right? Like this was just like, hey, we heard you guys like survival stuff. What if you, what if you had to survive and
hey, we greenlit this when DayZ was everywhere.
Ugh.
yeah, it just like I said, Far Cry Blood Dragon licensed the song "Friends Forever." So like it was just like, yo, we're just gonna make a fucking crazy game, and this one wasn't. It just wasn't it. So
they're taking a bit of a breather on Far Cry.
I would think
they're taking a breather on Assassin's Creed. Obviously.
They will never take a breather on Assassin's Creed. Never.
Oh, I don't think there's one coming out this year, dude.
Well,
They'll just re-release. What was the last one? Unity.
Unity.
Was it Unity or Rogue?
No.
Yeah, they're just gonna.
The last one was the English
British
one.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that Unity or Rogue? I can't remember.
Unity was in France, and Unity was.
It was Syndicate.
A goddamn mess.
Oh, Syndicate. Yeah, that's the one. Syndicate. They're just gonna be
Syndicate
like, right.
actually was pretty good, but nobody cared because Unity was so bad.
It's like here's a version of Syndicate that we think works, and then that'll be it. Like, there you go.
I mean, instead of, I think they might try and do a, this year's Watch Dogs, next year Assassin's Creed, next year Watch Dogs. They'll squeeze that as long as they can. So you'll see Watch Dogs instead of Assassin's Creed, or you'll get like a small Assassin's Creed side game or something. They've done plenty of those already.
Did they do no? Was it EA or Ubisoft that done the Division?
Ubisoft.
That's EA. That is an EA thing.
No, Ubisoft did Division.
The Division?
Yeah, that's definitely Ubisoft.
Are you sure about that?
I am like 195% sure.
There was no tar. There was no towers in it though. How could you...
No towers, yeah, no scalable towers.
No
But yeah, that got me thinking they'll probably just do some Division expansions talk.
Yeah, because
I
read like a wee statistic on it yesterday. Said like the player base has dropped by like 90% since.
Yeah, I mean
started.
it's hard to hold that audience's attention. Yeah. Like even Destiny kind of falters sometimes. You get.
I am one of those 90%. Unfortunately, I stopped playing it like a week after it came out. I don't know
because
why.
there's just not a lot of substance there, and it's strange when you were talking about Overwatch earlier. Like that'll probably dip a bit, but I still don't expect it to drop below like 1 million.
I think Overwatch is fine because like you can have 1 5-minute match. There's a start and an end, and then you'd be like, right, what I was doing has ended. I can leave now. Like when Division, you're going to be like, right, I'm just standing in the middle of the street. Will I stop now or will I go back and do some stuff?
Maybe they'll address something in that vein, during the press conference, like have some sort of substantial expansion. Not like Taken King, which did bring Destiny people back for a little while.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't play any of Destiny, so I wouldn't know.
What else? I'm trying to think of other Ubisoft things, like.
But I think you get more.
Do Rayman again, like another Rayman Legends Origins game.
I think you get more on Fractured Butthole. Like I think that's.
Ooh, yes.
That's we got just a trailer, but I think those guys understood now how to do the RPG thing where they have a actual steady studio with Ubisoft San Francisco, which is a pretty good studio. And
did you say Fractured Butthole?
Fractured Butthole. That's Fractured Butthole. It's South Park Fractured Butthole. So
shit, I didn't know. Is that a sequel? I didn't know that had one.
Yeah, it's a sequel to Stick of Truth.
Oh shit, I hadn't heard of that.
This time it is superheroes. So
wow.
Yeah, okay, so it's actually the trailer from last year. It's like they're doing the whole, they're doing the whole Lord of the Rings, doing the whole Game of Thrones thing, and then like,
Yeah.
no, this time we're playing superheroes. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Shit. I'll play that.
yeah, the superhero
I'll play that, no
trilogy.
problem.
The superhero trilogy from South Park are one of my favorite episodes with Barry Crunch. So, like being able to do that kind of a game, like I'm 100% like I just give me the classes, give me the gameplay, and I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to see more of that game.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that yet. That's actually pretty good news. I'll look forward to seeing something about that then.
Yeah,
Right.
I think we get a Tom Clancy game. I'm not sure what it is. Like you said, the
there's
Division kind of.
There was
Yeah.
oh shit, there was one they announced there last year, and you never heard you never heard about it again. Was it like Ghost Warrior or something?
Ghost Recon something.
Yeah, there was another Ghost Recon game being talked about, but it hasn't been out yet, has it?
I
It was
thought
supposed to be-
that
it was supposed to be
I
like-
don't think so.
it was
It was supposed to be like that big.
Patriots.
Yeah, it was supposed to be that like kind of big online thing, like the way
Came out last year.
Hitman.
That was Siege, I thought.
No, there
Was
was a
it?
there was a, big,
No,
there was a
Siege is a
bigger one.
different thing.
Yeah, there was a bigger Ghost Recon game.
Oh God, I have no idea. See, that's the problem, is that all these things sort of start blending together.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I think they were also supposed to have a Rainbow Six game, and that never like materialized to anything. So,
Who knows, man?
it's such a weird thing where they're at with these Tom Clancy games, but they will keep breaking them out because they make
Remember when
money.
End War was supposed to like tie them all together, like Hawks and Splinter Cell and all that
Hawks,
stuff?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Hawks. I remember Hawks, HAWX. None of that
Yeah.
stuff.
What if they do
Hawks.
another Splinter Cell though? What if they just tease another Splinter Cell? That seems like your safest bet. Like, that makes sense. They'll do another one. Like Ironside's gonna vote them again.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, I think Ubisoft, so they're kind of in a weird thing. They're just in a weird.
They're gonna make some
Uh,
safe risks.
There'll be a Just Dance 12. Keep on dancing, like something like that. You got to make money. They will have.
Yeah, they need
No.
that money. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
They'll just do Just Dance Rabbids with minions.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Just
Oh
Dance.
God, the Rabbids Minion crossover
Yeah.
we all wanted.
Oh god, you've actually just gave somebody some corporate dickhead just a really good idea there. It's like,
Somebody like spying or like
that's
watching the YouTube video. It's like, all right, we need to book this now.
yeah, that's
Got 2
untapped.
days.
That's untapped. Tap it now.
What do you mean we haven't made a game with minions and rabbits yet? Why haven't we done that?
Somebody call Nickelodeon. Greenlight this show.
Ugh. Disgusting.
Yeah. So yeah, that will obviously.
That covers what? That covers Ubisoft. We've been through.
covers Ubisoft.
We talked Sony, Microsoft, and then we talked.
Well, we haven't really got into Sony. We've talked Sony like as a peripheral.
Well, I mean,
so-
I honestly don't know if there's much to say because it seems like their offerings for at least 2016 are sparse. They're going to try and rely on the third-party thing again.
Well, most of their big games are out, and then I think their talk will be mostly tech based again. They're going to be talking
Yeah.
about the different versions of this PS4, and then
A lot of VR.
Shite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, well,
That's what I wanted to bring up because I think this is the perfect time now for them to transition into talking about PlayStation VR. I think there's nothing, like I said, we're far away. I think you'll see something for Final Fantasy 12, Final Fantasy 4. God,
I can't
Final
remember
Fantasy
which one.
15.
It's 15, yeah.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 15. I think you'll see more of Final Fantasy 15 because that comes out in September, right? So
Why would
gonna
you say that
probably
Sony and not like some general thing?
because I think it's only PlayStation. I think it's a PlayStation exclusive.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's definitely coming to Xbox One.
Is
I'm
it?
almost. I try and keep
I
up with this
don't-
stuff.
I
I
don't
know
think
Kingdom
so.
Hearts also coming to Xbox One.
Is it really? Is it also? Is it an also?
Yeah.
But I know that they are working with.
They still have more ties with Sony though, so if I had to wager
Yeah.
one versus the other, go there.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure we get a full on trailer.
Try and get
a
somebody
little
to
bit
care,
more.
man, because I don't-
Well,
they are really putting all their eggs in one basket, and I don't want Square Enix to go away, so I hope it does well for them.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Square Enix has different baskets now, right?
Yeah,
this
they're-
isn't like.
Square Enix
This
are doing
isn't-
fine. Like,
This isn't.
Well, I just
90s.
mean for like JRPGs in general, like it's
Yeah.
it's a strange
Well, I mean,
thing
like-
to look at.
even if Final Fantasy, even if this one doesn't do all that well, somebody will come along and do another one. There always is.
Yeah, it's a name with a lot of recognition, brand recognition. So.
That's true. But I mean, have Final Fantasy games even really been all that good lately? Like, what was the last actual good one?
9?
Exactly.
Well, no, I
Fucking
mean,
20 years ago.
Maybe 12?
12 is a good game. 13, the characters are not great, but 12, 13 is a good game. Like it's
13's
like as a
divisive.
game,
13's divisive.
as
I don't
a
know if you
yeah,
could objectively call it good. I think it's fine.
as it's not a like top tier Final Fantasy, but as a game, it's a pretty good game. So like it's not 10, right? It's not 7. It's not 8.
Yeah.
And you're going to
I
be
mean,
remaking 7. That's where you're going to
Yeah,
actually.
if they weren't in trouble, and I don't think, well, not in trouble, but if they weren't kind of running out of ideas, then I don't think they would be remaking 7. So they were just like, fuck it, we already made the best Final Fantasy game, let's just make it again.
Yeah, well, we already made one that's going to sell the most.
People
So
will be happy. Like.
we'll literally make 3 of them.
Yeah, I don't think that they honestly want to do Final Fantasy. I look at something like Kingdom Hearts, another franchise I don't think they want to do. But Kingdom Hearts, like they had all these Final Fantasy characters, and then they eventually started going away from it, right?
Made their own characters.
Like you introduced Leon and Squall and all these guys, and then you're like, well, maybe we do Sora by himself.
Yeah, no, it's just Disney characters. Here's Jack from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Like nobody gives a shit.
Here's Baymax. Please care.
But yeah, I think we get more of that. As a Kickstarter backer, I want to see some more of goddamn Shenmue. Like
Shenmue,
I put money into Shenmue. I would like to see more about Shenmue. Like, I feel like an idiot every day. I'm just like, wow.
That is a bit of a weird one. Like if there was enough call for that to be made, then it wouldn't have been kickstarted. Which I already think that's
it's such a weird thing, man.
It's off to like a really horrible start. But was it not like we're going to kickstart this to get a certain amount of money, and if we get a certain amount of money, then we're going to team up with
the rest will come in, and Sony will start to partner with, and then. But we got to get a little more if we want the game to be our full potential, and it's like, why bother?
They have the highest, like, given, like, Kickstarter. They've made the most money on Kickstarter, like, the highest. And then literally flip right back and we're like, oh, well, hey, we have this PayPal because, maybe
we need more.
Maybe you got a reward you didn't really get, you really wanted to get, so maybe you do a little bit more.
Give us more money.
It's a whole thing. So I would love to see more of that. What does, are we going to see a Crash Bandicoot? What is Naughty Dog after Uncharted? I don't know if you go back to Last of Us. I like Last of Us a lot, but I don't know if that's the.
I think Last of Us is done. I think somebody definitely said that they're happy for that to exist the way it is, and then that was it.
They could.
But what else?
In this environment, I feel like a safe IP would be Last of Us, and they just do a game as Ellie's an adult or something.
Yeah, but Naughty Dog never seemed like the kind of company that would just do the safe game. Like like The Last of Us, if you described it as like, oh, it's a zombie game, people would be like, oh, fucking yeah, I love zombie games, and then they turned it on and cried like the tiny woman that it made you cry like that game was so much more than just your regular I'm a shoot zombies, which I know some people bought that. That's what they thought it was. It was like, yeah, it's like this arena zombie shooter. Like, what game are you describing? You were so wrong. But I mean, I think they can do anything as long as it's got like a solid cast of characters and like at least I don't want to say grounded in reality, but at least Uncharted and The Last of Us were they at least they took place in like a relatable setting. Not so much the zombie apocalypse, but it was still people. They still had problems with other people. Like they're just they'll make a game where like these people have problems and they have to sort this out. But the setting can be anything. So I think they're probably going to do like, come on, we'll just do something really mental, like an underwater game or something crazy, or in space again. Everybody's going to space.
Crash Bandicoot 5.
Yeah, in space.
I can't wait to see what they do. Like I said, I think Insomniac, they're already doing that underwater game. That's another one that's on Xbox exclusive. I forgot. In the Deep.
Song of the Deep.
Song of the Deep. Rolling in the Deep. Whatever. It's the one that GameSpot.
The GameSpot publisher.
GameSpot. The videogame.com. GameStop.
Whatever happened to that game? It was released. It was announced a couple of years ago on Sony. It was like Deeper Down or something like that.
Oh, that's
like
the Capcom game. The Deep Down.
Deep Down. Yeah. What has that ever come out?
Nothing.
I don't
Capcom is
remember anything about that game.
That looked totally amazing.
If it's
And
not
then-
Monster
Oh,
Hunter
that's the
or Resident
Ono.
Evil.
That was the Ono demo, right?
But they said it was a full game. It's like at the end of it, it had you
And
like
I thought it was
that,
a Dragon's Dogma sequel, and it's
Yeah,
like, oh no,
'cause
it's
it
not
had-
that.
yeah,
It's going to be
'cause it
some
had
kind of procedural online game, and then it's like, oh, I guess
I
that was
don't-
just quietly canceled.
Is
Yeah.
Ono still with Capcom though?
He's still doing Street Fighter stuff a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
seems
he's
to be like
kind of the guy they put, he's the happy-go-lucky kind of executive dude who's like, hey, don't worry, we're not completely fucked.
we still the people. Not everyone's left. Look at me.
Hey, there's
Okay.
still Monster Hunter. Like no, they will never be bankrupt as long as there's a Monster Hunter. It's like Konami with Yu-Gi-Oh. Like everyone's like Konami.
It's only a certain amount of time they're going to be able to cash those checks, though.
Yeah,
We'll see.
you've never been
The
around
people-
Monster Hunter fans.
The people
No,
who
trust me. I dipped my toe. I dipped, like, I don't even know how the metaphor goes. I guess my whole self into Monster Hunter 4.
Mm.
It was really good, but I mean, I don't know how many more of those games they can make. Obviously, there'll be new hardware for a handheld kind of game like that to get on soon. So,
I think they just need to make another console one, get it over with.
I don't know. I don't know how good it would do.
Put it on
Better than-
PS4. Just
Better, yeah. Better than it
But
would
it's
on
like
handheld.
Pokemon. Like, those games are meant for just handheld experiences.
Well, I mean, Monster Hunter started off as a PS2 game. Like it can be done.
And
It just
I wouldn't
makes
say
it like
Monster Hunter are like kind of best suited to handheld things. I mean, like I remember anyone who I was ever talking to who was playing the third one on DDS was like, "Yeah, you need to get that Circle Pad Pro." Like, well, why would you need to get an extra analog stick if it's made for, handhelds? Like, just stick it back on a console, get a decent controller, and make it
I
not
wouldn't mind.
almost.
But then they made Wii U versions of that game that nobody bought, so.
well, I mean,
Well,
it
that's
was
just because
Wii U.
it's because that nobody has a Wii U. That's not the game's fault. Like if they
True.
put that on a PS4, it would probably sell quite well. Because people are like, hey, look at that, the Monster Hunter. I probably would have bought it if I had a PS4, which I don't. But
It'd be pretty good on that. It scratches a similar Dark Souls itch of just like the combat loop in that kind of way. And teaming
Yeah.
up. It's pretty cool.
All right.
Monster Hunter's cool.
So, but yeah, so that's Sony, and the last big press conference is Nintendo.
In quotes, press conference.
Yeah,
Nintendo.
this 3-day
I-
demo.
I guess there's just a Zelda presentation, and then there'll be streaming stuff all day.
Yeah, but there's been news that's been like coming out. With Pokemon, there's been Corco leaks, so I'm pretty sure there's gonna be more of a based on Pokemon there.
And they'll probably do that Fire Emblem SMT thing again, whatever that's supposed to be. Monster Hunter.
What was it? What's it called? Mirage.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Tokyo Mirage
Sharp
Sessions.
FE.
It just
Oh, yeah.
flows right off the tongue. But it looks great. Like I have not played it yet, but it looks fantastic. Like
I mean, it seems like a fun enough game, just kind of like so bizarre and odd, but that's what 5 years ago. That's what I thought Persona was. So
yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, I'd rather it be more Persona than Persona Q, which I was like, oh, this is kind of a quirky game. I'll play that. And I was like, nah,
I don't care.
it's awful actually. But no, so you have that. I think that you will see something about the mobile stuff, just because we don't know what that quantity is. I think with Miitomo was such a hot commodity. Like it was like a white dwarf star. It burned so brightly and then it just died, right? But it showed like Nintendo, like, hey, there are people who want to do these things, and with your first two games being Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem.
So not to get too breaking news on us, to pivot from that back to Zelda, but I'm seeing more leaks about like some Zelda promo art. Because there's this cool looking thing of Link in that blue tunic, like climbing a mountain or climbing a rock.
Well, we'll for sure get a name. We'll for sure get
And there's a lot
release
of
date.
towers and stuff in the background.
Yeah,
Like,
I think. Well, that's the reason why you go the full on like, hey, we're going to show you everything like Zelda. We're going to do this big Zelda blowout because for sure you're getting a name. For sure you're getting you're going to get a release date. For sure you're getting this is what's specific to each different thing. I don't know if you can do like when it went from GameCube to Wii, where hey, we flipped the world. Like it's going to have to be something substantial if you want to have people change differently. Like
It ain't that simple.
why would I want to get an NX for this Zelda game if I have a Wii U, right? So that's where you're going to kind of see that kind of selling go forward. is, what are we going to use to have that Wii U go to the next level, or
We'll see.
Have the NX go to the next level?
We'll see.
I think that once they do change the NX, they're probably just going to drop the Wii U pretty quickly, because it's not really doing them a whole lot of favors at the minute. I would like them.
The same thing happened to GameCube. So.
Yeah, that's true. I would like them to just be like, right, we're not going to say anything about the NX, except that we are, and then there's just all this stuff about the NX. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. If they don't.
Because they've kept such a tight lid on it up until now, and they've done a really good job at it. I think it would be better if they were the ones who were the ones to like break all the news on it, and like what better, everyone watches E3, so why not do it there yourself on your own terms? Like at least give somebody an image or a shot of a controller or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a game, just so we know that it's real and it's not like, right, here's a bundle of chips.
That'd be nice, but they have other avenues to do that later this year. They could always do some kind of thing in September, October, like here's our biggest Nintendo Direct we've done, something like that. Huge fanfare kind of thing.
Nintendo Direct is pretty much for only people who are like kind of plugged into Nintendo. I know it would leak from there, but I mean, people who don't even like games are going to be watching E3, and like for them to whip out, like, here's an image of what our console looks like, I think that would ultimately reach a whole lot more people than a Nintendo only press conference.
Reach more of a commercial audience, but I guess I'm just basing this based off of like when they were doing some Nintendo Directs late last year. Like the Cloud reveal got everywhere immediately. Everybody was picking up on, oh, you got Cloud Stripe in Super Smash Brothers. Like that's kind of the biggest thing to happen to Smash Brothers characters in like a long time. So in that information was everybody was going crazy that night.
Yeah, I mean it's like the Bayo announcement, right? Like no one knew Bayo was going to be in the game.
Well, no, Bayo was the ballot winner or something. Cloud literally was out of nowhere.
Right. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like they were able to do like, hey, we have Cloud, we have Bayo, and then we have Corrin, and then people complain about like, oh, there's all these Fire.
Well, I mean, do you really need as many Fire Emblem characters as Pokemon?
I mean, I didn't realize Corrin was going to be one of the most boring characters of all time. That's my problem.
Oh, hush. Corrin's fun to play at least.
Nah, man, he's absolutely not. That game, man, so disappointing.
What?
I mean, even within.
When did you turn around on Fire Emblem Fates? What the fuck?
It was a boring. It's just disappointing. It was a disappointing game. But
better than Awakening.
But yeah, it's not. But then the Cloud thing, they do the whole recreation of like the opening of Final Fantasy VII. It's like. Yeah. Like that was cool. It was like legitimately a cool.
That's the trailer team at work, because they couldn't make before the game came out they had all those cool anime trailers and like different styles, different art things for Punch Out, Kid Icarus and stuff. Couldn't do that for the post release stuff, but it's like, hey, we'll make a bunch of homages to Final Fantasy VII because why not?
But I mean, even like kind of within the grand scheme of things, those announcements were all very
small.
Nintendo-ass Nintendo announcements. Like it was an announcement for a thing totally within a Nintendo game. At least this way, the people who watch the Nintendo E3 conference won't just be Nintendo fans. It'll just be people who are curious to see as to what they're up to. So I think even if they don't even mention the NX at all, I think they are missing a wee bit of like gaining some credibility back from people who aren't Nintendo fans at the minute.
Yeah.
So I hope they do something with it.
They have to stack that launch like the launch window or launch day stuff a little better than the Wii U.
If it's just a Zelda game, it's not a great start.
It can't be another repeat of the Wii. They have to distance themselves from what they did with Wii a little bit, because that was, Wii Sports is kind of what sold that system for dozens of millions of people.
I mean, it's getting something that you won't be able to replicate, right? You'll never be able to replicate what the Wii did. You can only try to make your own thing. So that I agree with you completely on that.
And that kind of covers it. I mean, there'll be some other stuff, from time to time, but we've covered all the big pillars.
Yeah. So I mean, that's really, it's really kind of big things coming out of E3. There are a couple of announcements, like a couple of breaking stuff. Kind of want to, we're going to be doing these shows, with kind of a mix of different people throughout the week. So we'll kind of talk about stuff later. I think today they just announced the Batman Telltale stuff. believe it when I see it.
Uh,
I know it's concept
yeah,
art out. I'll believe that when I see it.
Well,
Troy
I
Baker,
saw actual models, unlike the Marvel stuff where it's literally just their logos.
yeah, but
yeah.
hey, Troy Baker as Batman. That's
Is that who?
a
Is that
very
who it is?
interesting thing.
I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not sure. Not sure how I feel about that. Ooh.
So Troy Baker
Ooh.
will be the first actor to be both Batman and Joker. As
Oh,
Troy
yeah, that's a good.
Baker
Yeah, that's a good point.
was the Joker in was it
And
the
Two
Origins
Face.
game?
I think it was a city. Was it the only one Mark Hamill didn't do? Like he done like a pretty
No,
good Mark
he
Hamill
didn't do
impression.
Origins.
It was Origins, so then that would be where Troy
Was it?
Baker was.
Rebecca
Yeah.
came in as
Okay. Right.
Joker and did an alright job.
Yeah. Well, that game was a steaming pile of shit. So
Well,
it's kind of
a little
hard to
bit.
remember it's kind of hard to remember the good bits of it. But I like the one problem with Telltale's games is that they control like absolute shit. So I don't know what kind of game
I
this
have
is
no
going to
idea what
be.
they're. I heard Batman is when they're going to revamp their engine.
Well,
But
it's about fucking time.
again, I'll believe when I see it.
Yeah, it's about time
Yeah,
because
I
like
mean, I
those Game of Thrones games are fucking awful. They're just
I,
so
did,
shit.
I couldn't like I didn't get really far in the Wolf Among Us. Like I liked the concept and the
Yeah,
idea of it, but it was
I
just
thought that was their best game, like the one that they had done. Like it just, I think it was like kind of the overall best package. Like it still had the problems that the rest of them done, but they were either less apparent or I didn't care as much because I thought it was more interesting. But like that Game of Thrones game just made me want to stab myself, so I wouldn't have to play it. It was just it was so dull, and it controlled like absolute shit.
yeah.
Ugh. So they
And
got to do
like I
something.
said, we had the Injustice leak that came out, and then they put out full trailer, um, put out full like more fighters. So I was excited because you have Atrocious, you have Gorilla Grog, you have
Get excited for the Red Lantern.
Was
yeah,
the
yeah.
the only thing I saw was like a screenshot of Supergirl, and it looked like a fuck doll. It was weird looking. Like it was a really terrible face
The
model.
stills
It's
are
like,
weird, but it's better.
yeah,
Yeah, if you
She
look at
looks
it
so
in
cool.
action, the trailer in action actually shows. Like I said, it shows Kara, Supergirl, fighting off against Gorilla Rog, and it's like really cool.
oh,
And
okay.
like, I mean, I've I've always wanted a video game where I can play as Gorilla Grog. Like I'm excited
Play
about that.
Overwatch.
And Black and Black
Yeah, that's
Manta
true. Just be
is
Winston.
also on there. Yeah. But yeah, so you have that, and obviously like as we get more stuff, like I personally can't wait to see more Cuphead. Please give me a release date on that game. I want Cuphead. I've wanted Cuphead forever. But yeah, so as we get more information, obviously we're gonna go back through this, and on Tuesday, once we've gotten everything, there'll be a full kind of blowout for it. So yeah, so right now we are going to go right into the plugs. So obviously, if you like what me and Dylan do, you can follow us on Twitter. Dylan's at Tierney. I am at Turbo Bison. John is at Cosmic Bacon Art.
Yep.
I got that right. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Me and Dylan do a podcast every week. It's called P&B. We are at pnbcast.wordpress.com. Find links to the podcast, as well as follow us on Twitter at PNB Podcast. And John has a game. It's out on Steam. It's called Wailing Heights. He did the art for it. He is a fantastic artist. Beat the
Thank you.
dubs. But yeah, it's a very fun. It's a very fun game. John, if you want to just tell us a little bit about it, that way people who maybe not have known to get a chance.
How would I describe it? It's not a point and click adventure game. It's like a character controlled little comedy musical game. It's very, a lot of like British and Irish humor in it. It's pretty small. I think it's about like 4 or 5 hours in total, and I think it's about like £7 or something at the minute. So it's pretty cheap, and you should buy it because we need all help we can possibly get.
I mean, hey, that's how we get better games is you support any developers, and
Yep.
we get everything in. So yeah, so but yeah, so also you're gonna want to check out Dylan's coverage of E3 at stack-up.org. I will not be doing any written coverage, but I will be doing audio stuff, and we'll be doing it through. So if you are checking out Laser Time, you can check out Laser Time streams. They start on Monday. Again, thank you to those guys for tweeting out the link. If you're gonna go Giant Bomb, their thing starts at 3:30, so you have like an hour. But yeah, so have fun. It's E3. I'll be doing wrap ups throughout, the next couple of days, and we'll kind of talk more about what's going on with E3, what we see, a little bit more of our thoughts on the press conferences, and kind of where we go forward from here. Like I said, this is a brand new format, and just to announce. This will be a weekly formatted show where we'll be going live on YouTube. It gives me a chance to do the interviews I like to do on the podcast, but this time it's more of a visual affair, and we can have these conversations. And so it will be going live on Tuesdays. Um, I'm depending on the time, but it will be Tuesdays. Calling it Fostering Opinions, and we'll have different people on, bring bringing everything in, have people where we talk about games, we'll talk about music, we'll talk about all different stuff. So it won't just be specifically a video game show. It'll be a talk show where we have great conversations.
It's a good name. It's a good pun on that name. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I have a great punnable name. Why don't you start using it?
Yeah.
So like I said, now it'll be our weekly show, Fostering Opinions, bringing everything in. So for Dylan Tierney, for John McFarland, I am Travis Foster. I do thank you guys so much for joining us, and I will see you. I will see you, and it'll be probably a different, group of people tomorrow when we talk about what happened in the press conferences today and what happened with Microsoft. All right, guys. Thanks. See ya.
Yep.
Peace.
Cheers.